Hi, this is Vicky from the Spellbound Bead Company, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a pair of beautiful brick stitch earrings. To make the earrings you're going to need two 20mm jump rings, some size 10 seed beads. I've got two colours here. You could do them all in one colour or you could do more colours if you wanted. Some size 8 seed beads, a pair of fish hooks, some 5mm jump rings, size 10 needle, some Nymo and your scissors. So just a note about the Nymo, I've used the sterling Nymo on this because I don't want the thread to show particularly, so I've used a colour that will blend with that central ring. But the beauty of this technique is you can actually make a real feature of the thread if you wanted to. So you could use with this particular earring, you could use a turquoise thread or a bright teal thread or something, and what you get is a little stripe around the central ring that just gives it that extra pop of colour if you wanted to. And what you could do is you could match that thread to your size 8 seed bead to give you an extra accent of colour. So there's a design variation for you if you wanted. So let's get started. I've got 1.5 meters of thread on my needle, but I haven't tied a keeper bead on the end because unlike regular brick stitch where you're working back and forth from a foundation row, we're going to work this directly off the ring. So what I'm going to do is tie the thread about 10 or 15 centimeters from the end of the thread around the ring. So I'm going to tie, there's a single knot, and then I'm going to tie a double knot so it's nice and secure. And you don't need a massive tail, you just need enough to be able to tie it in when you get to the end of your earring. So we're going to start by doing the first round of brick stitch, and we're going to pick up, as always when we start a new row of brick stitch, 2 beads. So I've got 2 of the turquoise 10s. I'm going to go under the thread, under the ring, pull that down, and I'm going to come back up through that second bead that I've put on there. This is a little bit fiddly because obviously everything just wants to slide through the ring, and just snug those up nice and tightly against one another. And then for the next one, pick up a single bead, go under the ring. If you push your finger up against the thread on the back, it'll just hold it in place so that you're not sliding about all over the place. And we're going to go around. I'm going to do this all the way around the edge of the ring. So with the size 10s, this is going to take around about 30 or so beads to cover the ring. You might find there's a little bit of variation. It doesn't really matter as long as it's a nice even coverage. You don't want a big gap left at the end, so if you have to put 31 on this row, that's fine. If it only needs 29, that's fine too. You just need to be nice and even, and just make sure the beads are just sat against one another, nice and regular. So I'll just do this the whole way around the ring. Oops, 2 beads on the needle. So you just want a nice even tension, and you want to try and get the beads to sit on the edge of the ring. So just periodically just check they're sitting on the edge. You don't want them to slip forward onto the face, not for this particular design. Just keep on coming round. So this technique will work better with a seed bead, and particularly a check seed bead, because they're a bit more rounded than the Japanese ones, so they'll sit against the curve more nicely. You might find on this first row, if you're using a square bead, that you just get little gaps, because obviously squares don't really want to go around the edge of the circle. So just keep on going all the way around. And there's nothing to say you can't do this in alternating colours. You just need to be aware that you just check that you're going to end up with the correct number of beads, because if you've got an odd number of beads and a 2 bead stripe, you're going to end up with 2 beads of the same colour next to one another. And just keep going. And just be careful when you get back round to this end here, because what you don't want to do is catch your needle through this tail and split the thread. So come through here, and you now need to use a little bit of judgment, because as you can see, I haven't really got room for another bead in there. If there was a bigger gap, then yes, it'd be worth trying to put another one in. So to join up the ring all the way around, we're going to go down through that first bead we put on, through there, under the ring, through the ring, there, and we're going to come back up through it. There we go, and there's our first row of brick stitch around the ring there. So there's about 30 beads on that row. So the next row, to keep it even, we're going to have to just put on an extra bead just for the spacing, because the beads are slightly larger. So the easiest way to do this is to pick up 2, come under your thread as you would in normal brick stitch, back up through, and then the next stitch you do, if you put 2 beads into this stitch as 2 singles, so put the first one on and come up, and then pick up a second bead and go under the same thread again. Oops. Then that will just give you the increase that you're going to need to make sure the whole ring's covered nice and smoothly. And then the rest of the row is just regular single stitch brick stitch. Oops. One bead in each thread bridge. And again, we're going to do this all the way around. And again, we can just fit one more bead in the gap. And we're going to connect the beginning to the end of the row again. So down through the first bead added, under the thread, and back up through the row there. So that's 2 complete rows. So the next row, which is the silver row, there has got 24 size 8s on it. So if you count those out before you start the row, 8, 16, 24. Couldn't do that if I'd have intended to. And again, we're going to pick up 2 beads to start this row, and we'll come under the thread and back up. Now these beads are larger, so they'll fill the row more effectively. I think, yeah, I've just split the thread there, so let's just take that out. And I'll just pull that back so that we can make sure it's right. If you do get a catch or a split, just take your needle off, because if you try and pull your needle back through, the chances are you're going to make it worse rather than better. So try again, under the thread, there we go, and back up through the second bead, and then we're just going to put the next 22 beads around. Last bead of the row, and there, and that gives us a sort of an effective, it's not quite a semicircle, but it gives us quite an effective ring. You can come further up or lower down if you want to do that. So now I'm going to switch to using my second colour of size 10s. So that's the teal here. Now, because of the increase that we've done there, we are going to have to do a slightly different number of beads in this first row. And also what we want to do is we want to create this little overlap at the ends. So we're going to pick up the 2 beads for the start of the row, and we're going to come under the first thread rather than the second thread. And what that will do is, if I show you here, it will just overlap at the end of the row there. And what we're going to do this time is we're going to put 2 beads in the first stitch, 1 bead in the second, 2 beads in the third, 1 bead in the fourth, and so on all the way around. So that's the 2, and we put 1 bead in the next stitch, and then we're going to put 2 beads, 2 single stitches in the next one. So there's 1 and there's 2, and then 1 in the next one. And what this will do is it'll just account for the, again, because we're increasing the circumference of the ring, you just need to make a few allowances. And there's 2 in that one. And 1. oops, that's 2, and 1, that's 2, that's 1, and 2. There we go, and that's that row there. Okay, so hold that back out the way and come back up. Up through the second bead. There. And then we're going to put 1 bead in each stitch around. Until we get to the end. So as we get into this final end, because we want the overhang to match the beginning of the earring, this final stitch here is going to have 2 beads in it again. So there's the first, and there's a second, and that's the basic earring finished. So what we'll do is we'll weave in this thread end through the work, so that we're going to come out in the centre, or one off the centre of this gap. So if you count, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 beads. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to make the loop to attach the ear wire between this size 10 here and this one here, leaving that one in the middle empty. So you're just going to work your needle up and down, through the beads, so you can note the correct one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So down there, up there, and then I'm going to pick up 5 turquoise to match the beads they're coming out of. 3, 5. We're going to skip that one. We're going to go down the next bead around, and that will give us a little loop like so. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the needle, so I'm going to come down through the bead on the row below and back up through there, and I'm going to go back through these 5 beads of the ring loop rather again. back down into the body of the ring, and then if I've got enough thread and I can get the needle through, I'm going to go through these beads a third time so that they're nice and secure. So through and then down, and then we're going to finish off our thread ends. So if we can just come, try not to tie a knot across the top here because it'd be quite difficult to hide a knot. So come down here, and if we come up that one, you can tie a knot through there. Through a bead. Another knot there. And then we'll come down through another few beads, and then we'll trim that end off there. Okay, I'm going to imagine we've tied in the tail end as well in the same way. Then to attach the ear wire, we're just going to use 2 pairs of pliers. So I've got a flat nose and a round nose. I'm going to twist that jump ring open, hook on the ear wire, and then hook through the loop that we've just made there. And what this will mean is that that's going to hang parallel to the side of your head, so through your ear and parallel to the side of your head. If you'd rather have it so that the ring's facing forward, you either need to attach the ear wire directly to the loop or add a second jump ring in, so then they'll be facing forward, they'll be facing sort of in the same direction as your nose. And that is how you make a pair of brick stitch earrings around a ring.